just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, brought to you by Grumpy Coffee. Head to grumpycoffee.com.au, grab your Grumpy Coffee. We've got ground, we've got whole bean, we've got pods, all the good stuff. Head to grumpycoffee.com.au. Also, join the Bloke Club. It's completely free. Go to www.bloke.club. You go automatically, when you join, you automatically go on the draw to win a Mazda BT50. And it's completely free, no strings attached. Each month, we actually give away prizes. So that's the fourth month. The first month is cash prizes. So the first month's $2,000 cash. And all you got to do is join. And you automatically go on the entry. We've got discounts on things. We've got huge plans for the Bloke Club. And that's all thanks to Aspley Mazda. Make sure to give Luke Camilleri a follow, LDC_01. He's the best in the business. I bought my car from him, and he's the one that's providing the Mazda BT50 to one lucky winner that joins the Bloke Club. It's completely free at www.bloke.club. With that out of the way, I got the great Nathan Lyon here. How you going, brother?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Mate, very, very good. Now, I felt like, I walked in and there was an extra little twinkle in your eye because you're a Raiders man, and the Raiders are, they're going all right.
Yeah, they've started off quite nicely, especially when all you blokes absolutely wrote them off at the start of the year. But no,
Guilty.
The way Sticky gets the group together, young group. But I think I'm going to head up to Brookvale this weekend, so it should be good fun.
Who do you reckon won the wrestle between Smithies and Hudson Young?
I'd like to say Hudson Young just because he's an Aussie.
Yeah, fair, absolutely, mate. How you been? We've been trying to set this up for a little bit. You've been all over the place, flying, playing, everything. Absolutely busy life schedule. How you been?
Yeah, going really well. Been a pretty busy summer off the back of a pretty amazing summer with the Test series against India, but then straight into a Test series in Sri Lanka, which was pretty hard and hot conditions over there. But to have that and secure a World Test Championship spot, that was the dream. So we get that in a couple of weeks' time, which is exciting.
Mate, off there, I was like a kid in a candy store, obviously new to cricket, but the series against India, to be and you've been a part of some incredible series. So I'm sure there have been other series that have been, close to as entertaining or bigger or whatever. However, as a newcomer, that series for me was so entertaining, such a good series to watch. What was it like to be a part of and to get that victory?
Yeah, obviously it was 10 years since we actually held that trophy. That's well and truly before you become a fan. And there was only about 3 or 4 of us in that team who has actually held the trophy before. So, and for the summer, the way it started, getting beaten in Perth, getting outplayed by India, but then for the guys to bounce back in India, rain affected in Brisbane, but then win Melbourne and Sydney, it was pretty amazing. I know we had a few beers after it to celebrate because they're the top series and the hype was just getting bigger and bigger. And it's just absolutely exceptional, to be honest. That MCG Test match was it's pretty spectacular the way you think about it, and the crowds that we were able to play in front of for the whole 5 days. Yeah,
well, wasn't it a record turnout for a Test series, at least in Australia, or something like that? I'll get Matty to check. I think it was some kind of the most, at least one of the series was the most turnout. But what was so crazy from a casual perspective or just like a viewer was just like the highs and lows were like so high and so low. You at one stage, that first series, the pitchforks are out and it's doomsday. These boys are done and I can't believe we got beaten. And then the next series come out and play so well. I guess internally, I'm sure you would have done the best to block it out, but was there talk of listen, it's one series, we know what we can do, let's just stay patient, let's not let the noise outside get internally?
Yeah, definitely, because you talk about that first Test match of the summer where we lost and got outplayed, and that's where I've got to give credit to where Pat and Andrew McDonald really, guide our team, because there were a lot of people, there were a lot of noise of suddenly these guys can't play cricket and we're the worst cricket team to ever play the game and etc. like that. But we said, right, okay, you look at a couple of games ago, we had an unbelievable Test series win in New Zealand before the Indian Test series. So we can play. It's just about ignoring all that white noise. It's pretty cliche, but when the series is getting as big as what it is, the media attention on it, the eyes on TV or coming to the ground, it's against India. it doesn't really get much bigger.
Yeah.
So like we knew what we had to do, and then going to Adelaide, a venue that we love playing cricket at, under lights with the pink ball, that probably helped us as well. But it's just about understanding. Okay, we got outplayed. Accept that. Have a beer. Have a chat. What can we get better? Where can we get better at? And let's go out and do it. But saying that, Bumrah, he was.
Wow.
He was on a different planet there for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. He, being a new fan to cricket, because I didn't have like a history of to look at and go, is this normal or not normal? I remember asking Matty, is it normal for a bloke to be bowling like this? And he's like, mate, this is absolutely not normal. Like you might go, Johnson back in 2013.
13, 14, yeah.
13, 14. Like it's not normal for this kind of stuff to happen. I guess as an opponent, and you're relating to footy when you watch like Greg Inglis go out and just play incredibly or whatever. Is there ways you try and minimise that as an opposition heading into that next series?
Well, you try and think of different ways that you can come up with a plan, but cricket's such a tactical game, and we spoke about trying to minimise the balls that us bowlers had to face against Bumrah if we were to bat with a batter. So like there's little things like that, but the reality is that you've got to come up with your own way, your own method, and have confidence in that. And the big thing is, especially in cricket, if you walk out and you don't have confidence, whether that's with ball in hand or with the bat in hand, you're always halfway losing the battle already. So it's about trying and find that belief that you've always had. Yeah. But when you come up against someone like Bumrah on that, it's one of these things, especially as a bowler. As a batter in hand, you don't really want to go out and face him, to be honest with you.
Mate, the tense... that you could feel the tension every time he bowled. Literally, like every bowl, there was tension because he was just doing such a good job. So then there came you won, I think it was in Adelaide, then it was Boxing Day, was it?
No, we had a rain-affected game in Brisbane, which ended up being a draw.
Then it was Boxing Day after Brizzy?
Yep.
And that was the great Sammy, the young fella, Consis?
Yeah.
Comes out. Were you aware he was going to start playing those shots?
No, I wasn't. I was actually sitting up in the viewing box, and Marnus and Smithy and our coaches are up there, and just seeing the first couple of hours of first hour of play is usually pretty amazing at Boxing Day. Massive crowd. Yeah, the nerves are up. And Andrew McDonald actually said, I reckon he's going to play a ramp shot within 30 balls. And I said, you're off your head. There's an absolute... Like, I've seen him play. I played New South Wales cricket with him, so I've seen him bat properly, and he's a talented young player. And I said, mate, you're off your head. And literally 2 balls later, he tried to ramp. I'm just like, what the fuck's happening here? But Smithy and I both needed a defib up there then, but... yeah. Well, that just shows how naive he is, in my opinion.
Mate, so he does the first one and you're going, okay, young, fire in your blood, you've just tried something, the next generation, they just try things. But he did 3, didn't he? And he missed the first 2, didn't he? Or at least missed 1.
I think he did about 4 or 5, but he missed the first 2. And like Starkey, when I saw that first one, I can't watch this. I've got to go down. So I went back down to the change room where all the bowlers sit down and just talk crap and just have a bit of fun down there. And Starkey and I both looked at it and I said, well, if this is a younger generation, I don't think I've got much longer. But but yeah, jokes aside, you look at that and the way he went out there and changed the whole feeling within that test match, put them off, and suddenly you remove a third slip and he goes down the third man, which is in test cricket, that's pretty unusual. Then he nicks one, it goes the third slip, would be out if he had a third slip. So it's like, I've got to take my hat off to him in the way he changed that away a little bit.
It does, and maybe it's a wrong comparison, but it does remind me of like, you've got, let's say in footy, you've got a forward that's absolutely terrorising you and you've played, game 1, you're in game 2, he's terrorised your game 1 and you send a young fella out to just go straight at that, back at that guy that's been terrorising you. And I feel like that was the circuit breaker that it seemed anyway externally you kind of needed to just go, okay, yes, obviously Bumrah is on an absolute tear right now, but it just, it was like a circuit breaker. It was like, okay, hang on a sec, like we can dictate to a degree rather than be dictated to. Is accurate, inaccurate?
No, pretty spot on, to be honest with you. It's just the positive thing is that it's not a physical sport, physical contact, I should say. So
Hey,
unless Virat unless Virat wants to drop the shoulder in, but no. And as I said, I think just the way Sam was able to go out there and just change the for the first 8 overs of the game, change his Bumrah's approach. Did it affect him? Did it not? You'd have to ask him that, but it definitely changed the way they thought and the way they go about it. And the reality is that 8 overs, brand new ball, fresh wicket, Bumrah's going to be at the most dangerous time. Yep. So, yeah, I don't want to give him too much credit because his head's already big enough, and he's already told me he's struggling with fame. So we'll leave that alone from now on.
And just the last thing. So obviously, the shoulder happens, and a legend of the game. In my opinion, that's evidence that at least something's getting under their skin. Did you guys look at that as this is an opportunity to galvanise the team? Because that situation happened, or did you more just go, let's just move past it and stay focused on the game plan?
No, we kind of laughed about it and just moved forward because I've always said let's play on skill and not emotion. Seeing cricket it's an individual game for about 3 seconds. It's bowler v batter, and it's not that emotional. You see, if I'm maybe wrong saying this, but in rugby league, some guys get really worked up and their performance can enhance, or they can or go the other way.
Yep.
I've seen it in cricket. If you start bowling on emotion or anything like that, you start trying harder and harder, and things you go away from your plan, and that's where you start getting unstuck. So we just looked at it, laughed at it, and gone, right, okay, we'll go on, because Virat's also one of those guys where if you have a crack at him, it switches him on. Okay, and you go, okay, well let's steer away from that. I don't need to sit there and have a crack at him. I've played cricket for the last 14 years against him. I've had my time where we've had run-ins and whatnot, but and I respect Virat for what he's been able to do in the game. So it was one of those things where you laugh at it, and Sam was doing the big shoulder charge to the crowd and getting that up and about, because it was probably more like Mumbai than Melbourne there with the amount of Indian fans at the MCG. So it is what it is at the end of the day, and Virat's just he's incredibly talented, but plays on extreme emotion as well. Yeah.
From a purely content perspective, I'm sitting there just lapping it up, just going, just give me more of this crazy fireworks. And so you had the constant situation, but you had guys like, Uzi was looking for a bit of form, Marnus was looking a bit of form, and what I loved about the series is everyone kind of had their moment to I wouldn't say save the series, but to keep you in a game, or keep you in an afternoon or whatever. So I think Marnus was struggling a little bit of form, but then he came out, he went for 70, I think. Couple of 70s, and then Uzi so he got out on that last ball, but then he came out in the last game and ran for about 40, really important 40 or 50, if I recall correctly. What was it like, I guess, seeing all different players stand up when you needed them to? Was that a proud kind of moment?
Yeah. Then you look at our squad over the last number of years now. There's never been someone who's really stood out the whole time, or there's been guys who stand out consistently, but you look over it, there's usually been a whole squad performance to win series, and that's I'll stand today. You always need those type of players, and we're very beneficial with the Australian cricket team at the moment that we've got those players who will put their hand up in tough times. Yes, there's going to be times where guys are under the pump, not scoring runs, not scoring, taking wickets or dropping catches or whatever it may be. But the beauty of the squad right now with the leader with Pat and Ronnie, it's really calm and collected, and you stick to your process, and you know that you've got the support of everyone in that change room. I think that can make a big difference as well. And but you also got to be realistic as well, and go, you know what, Uzi's had the hardest job, and Nathan McSweeney had the hardest job in Test cricket to come out and face Bumrah, who's on an absolute heater, and you got to go, okay, well, yeah, some days you're going to get a bowler who gets a batter out a few times and works them out. But the beauty of our game is that we have, you play against usually the same team over the last 5 games in a 5 test match series. So you understand and you get the chance to work them out. And some days that may work positive, or some days it may go against you as well.
Yeah, mate, what a series. When did you reckon, so Bumrah gets injured in the second last day or something like that, but it was still in the balance that last test. Like it wasn't just a surety that you would win it. When do you reckon you knew you guys had it in the bag?
When we needed 2 runs to win. No, you look at that and you go, well, I think we had to chase about 160 or 70.
Yeah.
If Bumrah was playing there, I still believe we'll win. We would have won, but it would have been probably Scotty and myself batting.
Yeah,
so
okay.
like you win dramatically, either 8 down or 9 down, and you have that pressure as a bowler. You got to suddenly go. You got to go out and score the runs and the whole Australian public want you to do that as well. So that you get that pressure as well.
Yeah.
So I still believe we would have won, but I think we saw the impact of Bumrah not playing, and I think he had a pretty bad back injury. So
okay, and was it the 3rd or 4th test? I think it was you and Scotty that had a great partnership.
yeah, Melbourne. Yeah.
In Melbourne. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Like Scotty and I often joke about it now, that we won that test off the bat. Like the reality is, if we get bowled out there, they chase. I think it may have been 300 or whatever it was, or less, and have 5 sessions or 4.5 sessions to do that. But we were able to bat pretty well, close to a whole session there, and that really had a big impact on that game, because they were still on target to win that game on the 5th day. And I remember Gambier, so their coach, were walking out for tea time. We still need to take 7 wickets there, and Gambier he's an interesting guy. He looks like he kicks his toe at the end of the bed until he feels grumpy enough to walk out. But you look at that and you go, oh, okay, well. And I said to him, oh, how you going, coach? All okay? Like just having a chat to him, and I said, oh, we wouldn't get you out on this, because he was a talented batter, and I played against him back in 2012, I think it was, and he goes, oh, flat wicket, slow wicket. And I said, oh, yeah, it's been a pretty good wicket, yeah. And Alex Carey and I walked off, and we're like, gee, that's an interesting comment. Then for us to go and take 7 wickets, they're really, for me, it's like, you know what, that couldn't happen to a better bloke. So, no, I was pretty happy with that.
Mate, and that's what I was so intrigued with that series, is like everyone had these really special moments. It wasn't just, as you said, like, yeah, there will be times when a specific player dominates a series or whatever, but the beauty about it is like, you know, you rather than, you know, ball in hand, it's with the bat in hand. You and Scotty are helping us, you know, the nation win. Then you got obviously Constance's incredible situation. I think even Paddy had a really good, I mean, you're always good with ball in hand, but I think a good batting stint as well. Just an incredible series, mate. Absolutely incredible. Mate, right now you sit at 553 wickets, 3rd most of any Australian, behind guys like Warney and McGrath. I guess when that is said out loud, you're probably used to it by now, I'd assume. But like, if your little version of yourself, like the kid version of yourself, could hear that, would that blow your mind? Yeah,
100%. Like you look at my story, even when I moved down to Adelaide from Canberra after doing my curating trade, and I was working at Adelaide Oval, and I was watching South Australian Redbacks train, and I was just like, fuck, that's what I want to do. I want to be a first class cricketer. So for now, if you said back then, oh, you'll be currently the 3rd leading wicket taker and the 7th in the world, I would have said, mate, you're off your head. You are off your head. There's no way in the world that's happening. So yeah, it's pinch yourself stuff. But I don't really want to get sucked into just looking at that, because I feel like I've still got a lot of cricket left in me, and there's a couple of big series around the corner. And then I just feel like as soon as you look at that end line, then that's just going to come up extremely fast. So I don't have an end line. I just want to enjoy it, and when I finish playing, I'll sit back and
have a look
with the family and have a beer and friends and stuff, and go, oh, you know what, that was all right.
Yeah, mate. It's what do you, because like for yourself, you sit there and go, if I could speak to my younger self, I'd be mind blown. And then there are other people or other professional athletes or Australian cricketers or league players that they'd be like, I'd expect that I would do this or that. And it's always so interesting to me, the different paths to greatness. It's not always there's not one way to do things. There's always many different ways. What do you reckon what part of you do you reckon helped you the most to get to this point, do you think? Was it your work ethic? Was it your love for cricket? What do you reckon it was?
I grew up in Young, so about 4 hours southwest of Sydney here, and I was starting playing against men at 12.
Yeah,
so I was 12, and my brother was 15 at the time, and we would play against men, and like everyone would expect them to slow down for us or anything like that, and my dad was said, "No, if he wants to play this level of cricket, he's carry on. Like don't worry about him being 12 or anything like that." So I feel like growing up in the country, having that resilience as a country kid, being knocked down, just get up and play, or you're playing with your older brother and his mates and stuff like that. So I feel like the resilience of being knocked down a fair bit along the way. So that's one thing I'd say, but I feel like I reckon I would have played about around 30 test matches, and I was still trying to figure out the game and still trying to figure out my role and what I had to do, and probably more importantly, the self-belief. So I reckon I was about 30, 40 test matches in where I found that self-belief, and I think that's the biggest thing for any professional athlete or in life. If you got that self-belief, and I'm not talking about, I feel like there's a difference between being arrogant and having an ego and having a fear of failing. Like they're my barriers, and if you can hold in between those, where you respect failing, you learn from it, but you don't get too far where you think you're better than anyone else, because reality is, in my terms, mother cricket will bite you in the arse, and you'll be back to doing what you were doing beforehand.
Yeah. Well, it's, that country upbringing, how, you've spoken just basically, it was like crucial, to your upbringing, to where you're at the moment. I guess, do you feel indebted to being a country boy to a degree? Like, anytime I meet a country boy in footy or whatever, there is a unique connection to being a country lad rather than being a city lad or whatever. Is that something that you hold quite dear to yourself? Yeah, definitely. Because I know, I growing up, I never wanted to live in Sydney because it was too big, and as a young kid, I hated crowds and all that stuff. Like I loved the slow life, I guess you can put it. Mum and dad still live out in Young, so like I've got a unique connection out there, and that's something that that will never leave me. But yeah, I think just being a country kid, you don't get access to different pathways or different services, whether that's coaching or whatever it may be in sport, very often to the country kids. So I feel like there is a way that country kids find their path, and I feel like that can be road travelled a lot more than some country kids, or some city kids. Yeah. And that's no shot at city kids. That's just the story that they've been given. Yeah, it's just different, really, to be honest. Like, it's just different upbringings. And I think there's some positives that you can get from being a city kid. There's some positives you can be from a country kid. I will say though, anytime you say to someone, "Oh yeah, I'm a country bloke" or whatever, they always just assume you're a good bloke. And I'm always like, hang on a sec. That's bullshit. What about the city kids? They might be good blokes.
You're bang on there.
Mate, all jokes aside, mate. So you grew up, obviously, born in Young. You moved to Canberra as a teenager. When did you become a Raiders fan?
Oh, no, Young. My brother is mad. He's mad. I always laugh about it. He's the one that will wear the jerseys, wear the scarves and all that stuff. And I find that quite embarrassing, to be honest with you. But yeah, so that was a young age. I think I was about 6 or 7 where I first really remember we used to travel an hour and a half to go watch the Raiders play. And this is back when Big Mum and Inga and these guys were playing. And we went in the sheds one time and just remember shaking Mel's hand with Dad, and would have broke my hand back in the day. But so yeah, been a Raiders fan for a long time. There was a period of time there where my uncle, Dad's brother, was trying to get me to follow the Bulldogs and be like him, but mainly all Raiders. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Nearly got you. Did he nearly get you or not? Raiders through and through.
Oh well, he got me the Bulldogs jerseys for
okay.
Christmas and all that stuff. And so, but no, it's deep down, it's always been Raiders, and been lucky enough to meet a few of the guys and all that stuff. So it's all pretty good.
Great crew down there. Great crew, mate. Did it? It didn't. How early did you kind of, because you were playing 12-year-old playing with men, so you were clear. I'm assuming you were clearly good for your age group. But when did you kind of realise that you were not just good for your age group, but quite handy, and also a quite handy spinner as well?
Oh, well down the track. So I moved to Canberra when I was 18.
Yep.
But 2 years prior, so when I was 16, my grandmother or mum and dad would every Tuesday and Thursday would pick me up from school at 1 o'clock and would drive over to Canberra for training.
Wow.
For grade training Tuesday and Thursdays, and then do it on Saturdays and Sundays.
How long was that drive?
Hour and a half.
Oof.
Which for me as a country kid, it's
normal.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah.
So like I didn't know that. Like I got picked in ACT under 17s and 19s and into the Comets, the second 11 program, and I didn't think I was any different. I didn't think I had a special ability or anything like that. And it wasn't until my third year of my apprenticeship, Ashley Ross, who was Comets coach, then he went down to South Australian as a talent ID, and he was like, we come down as an off-break bowler. We're looking for a finger spinner, and it took me a lot of balls to say no, but I was like, well, unless you give me a contract, I'm not giving up my curating apprenticeship because you need to be qualified in something. And then he called me 8 months later. Said, we need a curator, but also an off-break bowler. And
no way.
So I went down there, flew down there. But the good story about going down there, Damien Hoff, who's the head curator at Adelaide Oval, who I went down there and got the job under the coach at the time. He went up to Mark Sorrell and was like, "They got this young kid coming down from Canberra. Is he any good at cricket? Because I don't really want to employ another ground staff who's cricket. I want them to be passionate about curating and doing all that."
Yep.
And Mark Sorrell, the head coach, he actually said, "Nah, I've seen him bowl. You'll be right. You might come to a couple of training sessions, but you'll have him full time."
No way.
So thankfully Mark Sorrell got sacked. Then Darren Berry come in and pick me up, and then the rest is history type thing. But I didn't think I was any different at all. And it probably wasn't until I started playing Test cricket that I was just like, oh no, okay, there's a decent little opportunity here. And I know you interviewed Punter the other day, but Punter's the one that he's kick-started my career.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. So I got picked on the Test tour to Sri Lanka back in 2011, and I had these guys on my wall. I had Hussey, Ponting, Hutton, Clark, all these guys on the wall as a kid growing up.
Yeah.
And I opened the lift and saw them for the first time. So I had to introduce myself to these guys, but. We were at a training session before the first Test match, and I bowled to Punter for about probably an hour and a half to close to 2 hours.
Wow.
Just bowling to him and Mike Hussey, and you bowl 6 balls in, and then he would come out and you'd have conversations with him. And this is the way I learn. I often say the players you play with and you against your best coaches, and I bowled to Punter for about 2 hours and about different techniques and still stuff I use today. And he walked out of the net and called Michael Clark over and said, "Mate, you got to pick Gaz."
Wow.
And Pup's like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "No, you got to pick Gaz." And then half an hour later, I got called up into the change room by Pup and Greg Chappell, and Pup told me I was playing. So I owe Punter a fair bit. To be honest.
Wow. Far out. How did you deal with, because it sounds like, as you said, it took you 30 or 40 tests to really, get to that next level within tests. But then also, I'm assuming before that, confidence, not a huge issue for you, but like just to realise that you actually have quite a lot to offer. How did you deal with the fact that you're bowling to an icon? There's a lot of pressure with that, or although you would have been dealing to someone that you looked up to and had the photos on the wall and everything, were you still, no, I'm still confident in what I have to offer with ball in hand kind of thing?
No, I was shitting bricks, to be honest with you. I wasn't like Sam Constance where, and this is no shot at Sammy, but I wasn't as naive as what he was. But like, I only played 4 first-class games before playing international cricket. So I didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah, okay.
But I knew I had the support of the likes of Hussey and Haddon and Ponting, especially those 3.
Yep.
And those guys just told me to relax and just go and bowl your best ball and stick to your plan and all that stuff. So, and the big thing for me, I also was like, I come into started playing when a lot of people were trying to find the next Shane Warne.
Okay.
And coming out of Warney's shadow. So they tried different spinners. They tried Jason Frazier, Zadie Doherty, Nathan Horrocks, Michael Beer and a few others. And so they were, at that time there was like a couple of spinners would have a go, then, oh no, next one. So I was lucky in a sense that Michael Clark was captain. And he just said to me, he's like, I'm going to back you in here and we're going to do this together type thing. So a lot of credit also has to go to Pup and the way he captained me as well, because he was unbelievable, like tactically, and he knew when to bowl me at the right times. And not that he bowled me the easy overs, but he understood the game like that.
It sounds like when you were coming through, they had a really strong senior playing group that knew how to make certain players tick, if you know what I mean. Like, who needed a bit of confidence or backing, who needed tough love. I could be wrong, but it just sounds like a strong leadership group to be able to give you that, no mate, we back you in, like we've got your back.
Yeah, you talk to Punter now, and Punter probably thinks he probably played for probably two years too long. But he'll sit here and have a beer and say, no, I only played for the likes of you and Smith and Warner and the younger guys coming through at that time. To really show the way and have a senior head to go to when things were getting tough, or when things are going well, you still got to learn from the right people. And I'm in debt for Punter, like the way you'd watch him train, even though he was at his back end of his career. He was first one on the training field, last one off, still doing the basic drills. So like just learning like that and having that, learning the Australian way of how competitive and never fear losing and being prepared to lose to win a game and all those little typical things. So, but looking at it now, that's one area where you look at the Australian cricket team at the moment. We're fortunate enough we've got a few senior players in around the team that were able to hopefully pass on a bit of knowledge or support, or just put your arm around a couple of younger guys to hopefully let them find their own feet in international cricket as well.
Yeah. And so was this against Sri Lanka in 2011? Yeah. And so what's that feeling like game day? You know, you're about to make your debut essentially, and against, what was Sri Lanka at that stage? Were they a strong side or not as strong?
Yeah,
strong
they
side
had a couple of world-class batters.
Yeah.
Kumar Sangakkara, Mahal Joe Wardner. Then they had a gun spinner called Arenga Harath.
Yep.
And a few others floating in and around there. But yeah, I was so naive in a way where I was just like, probably a good thing was debuting outside Australia. Like looking at it back at it now, it would have been nice to have your family there, but
Sure.
I didn't have mum and dad, or I didn't have anyone there, and so I was game day. I was like, get the bus, go there and do the presentation, and I was baggy green. And
Who gave you your baggy green?
Greg Chappell.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So like, and they're the stuff that as a country kid, you dream of playing cricket for Australia. So to have that process and do all that, and you look back at it now and you go, that's pretty cool. And but yeah, I was absolutely shitting bricks and nervous, but yeah, it helps when you got some really class players around you.
Yeah. And so when you went out there, is there anything the boys said to you, like just play your game or anything like that? Or was it just, you'd already said all you needed to say? Yeah,
so we batted firstly. Then the day two was I got the first opportunity to bowl, and I remember Huss coming up there and just put his arm around me and just put a smile on your face. As soon as you smile, you relax and you'll do what you do. And Punter was at mid-on, at short cover, and he just come up and he just tapped me on the arse and said, "Just bowl your best ball, back your skill." And so that it was still pretty obviously nerve wracking, like not knowing what you're doing and everything like that. But it's pretty cool, pretty fun memories.
What was it like? And I'm assuming it would be daunting, but Warnie's legacy, coming in after that. Are you even thinking about that at all? Or are you just thinking, I just need to focus on me. I don't need to be worrying about one of the greatest of all time kind of thing? What's the headspace like there?
No, well, you think about it because every paper you open up or every headline you see, it's about living in Warnie's shadow. And I've got no dramas with that. Even to today, I'm still living in Warnie's shadow, and I've just embraced that now. But the biggest effect on that stuff was on my mum and my grandmother, because they'll be back at home, and whether it was positive or negative stuff in the media regarding Warnie's shadow or different things, whatever it may be, they would my family would get the paper and they would read it, and that just snowballs on them because they can't control it. They don't really understand what's going on because as a teenager or as a kid or a male, I probably don't talk to my mum deep as probably what I should do. So like I tried to shield them even today, like 130 odd games into it now, I'm still trying to shield mum from it, so she doesn't get worked up and upset or nervous or anything like that. But with Warnie's shadow, it's like he's the greatest to ever play the game. So like, it's a bloody big shadow. So there's a lot of people in it. So
mate, you're doing all right for yourself. You're doing all right for yourself. Unbelievable.
But you look at it and you go, he's one guy who I idolised as a kid growing up. Yeah. So and to be not put in the same sentence, but the sentence below him, it's pretty cool. And
is there anything you did early in your career, like, because I'm assuming the mature way you approach it now, you wouldn't have just had that straight away. There would have been probably, I guess, assuming times where you probably didn't handle it the best, and then you worked out ways to be like, you know what, like, I should, Warnie is one of the greatest of all time. Kind of, was it always that mentality, or did it take you time to build into that?
No, it took me time to build in it because you talk about the media and the effect that the media have on individuals, and every day. And the reality is, as a spin bowler, you go on to a day 5 or day 4 or day 5 wicket, and you're expected to win the game, and you talk about the pressure from the Australian fans and the public and whatever. They all expect you to do that just because Warnie did that.
Yeah, okay.
We're talking, he's the greatest to ever play the game, and it wasn't until I said to Dad, I called Dad before one game, I forget which game it was now, but I'm like, I'm nervous going in, like, we need to win this game. I think it was Adelaide 2014, and it was against India, and I said, it's spinning, I need to take the wickets to win that. And Dad's a country guy the whole life, and Dad just keeps it pretty simple, and he goes, you're an idiot, like, you got 3 to 4 other bowlers in your team. If you got each guy do your job in bowling partnerships, do what you do, you'll create enough chances. And it wasn't until I really took that on board and go, you know what, everyone expects me to do it, but there's going to be some day where I'm going to do it, or my mate at the other end's going to do it, the fast bowler, whoever it may be, they're going to have the opportunity to do it. So that was one big moment where I was just like, you know what, just go out and enjoy it and bowl your best ball. And if you stick to your process, some days it's going to come off and you're going to be on the back of the newspaper celebrating or whatnot, and some days you're going to be in the back of the newspaper saying you wasn't good enough to get the job done. But if you can go out there and say, no, I tried my hardest, I did that, and some days people are allowed to bat well. That's where in the game where batters are allowed to bat well, bowlers are allowed to bowl well. Like Bumrah, he bowled well.
Yeah. Wow, I mean, it's I think it's, because you have carved such a name for yourself. I think especially fans that are new to the game would forget that immense pressure that you'd be dealing as a young fella. I liken it to, the next bloke that wears the number 9 jersey of the Melbourne Storm under Cameron Smith. Like, that's going to come with a lot of pressure. Okay.
Harry's going all right.
He's going all right. He's going all right, mate. Yeah, mate. So Sri Lanka. How do you think you went as a debutant? How do you think you went against Sri Lanka?
I had a pretty dream debut first game, especially first innings. But I had a pretty limited impact, looking back at it now, limited impact in the rest of the series. But I was lucky enough to have the support of the captain and the coach. We'll changing over coaches at that time, but more Michael Clark. And as I said, he was an exceptional captain, especially tactically. Knew when to bowl me at the right times and so I had a dream debut, dream start. I obviously took a wicket from the first ball, which I didn't obviously expect or anything like that, but that was pretty fun moment that. And then to go on and take 5 for, considering I've never taken 5 for in Shield class cricket before that, and like I only really probably took 2 fifers or maybe 3 in Canberra grade cricket before taking my first fifer and
so
the first wicket.
So when you take your first wicket, are you thinking, I can't believe that just happened? Like, what are you thinking? Because like it's truly, that's something in the backyard as a kid. You pretend, you make up in your head, like, I played Australia first wicket, like incredible stuff.
I didn't really know what to do. And you look at the celebration now, it probably pretty sums it up. Really didn't really know what he was doing. But, don't know. You look back at it now and you go, it's pretty incredible and it's pinch yourself stuff.
Amazing.
But I remember bowling the ball and thinking, oh, fuck, that's short and wide. He's going to hit that for 4. Oh. And that's going to be possibly the worst start because I actually debuted with a guy who my brother played cricket with, Trent Copeland, in the same game. So, country cricket. So I've known Trent since I've been about 14.
Wow.
So then suddenly total different paths. He went to Sydney and New South Wales. I went to Adelaide, played Adelaide or South Australia, and then we both debuted. And he actually took a wicket in his second ball.
No way.
So then for me to top that off and go one ball better, something we've got on him.
Mate, how good. Do you think, was it almost, because you said you didn't have as much impact for the rest of the series, did that have anything to do with it, do you think, because you had such a good start, or not really? It's just a series went how it went.
I think the series went how it went. Yeah. I'm still learning, still understanding Test cricket, still trying to figure out my role and all that, but being in the subcontinent, spinners got the chance to bowl a lot of balls, but then the surfaces changed quite a fair bit after we won that first wicket. There wasn't a blade of grass on that wicket, and it was probably, best summary was underprepared, wasn't very hard, so it was going through the top. Where we went to Candy, it was rain affected, then Colombo was like bowling out on the Hume Highway, like it didn't do anything, and just went out to a draw, ended up winning that series 1-0. So, like looking back at it, you wanted to have a probably bigger role, but also pretty proud in the way you started and to win over a subcontinent. But it's not until now. Yeah. A couple of years ago, you realise how hard it is to actually win away from home. Yep. Especially in the subcontinent. Like we won in Pakistan a couple of years ago and just won in Sri Lanka, but we haven't ticked off India yet or England. But subcontinent as a spinner, that's where we need to.
Did you have, honestly, and you can be honest with me here, how many beers did you have that night after you went fifer? The best beer story about that tour was my mum and dad come over for Colombo. To Candy, my second test, and Dad's not a big drinker at all. Okay. I think he had a big 21st. Then he said, "No, I'm not doing it." Really? So anyway, we drew that test match, and we were just sitting around at the hotel bar having a beer, and I was next to Ponting and Haddon and Hussey and these guys, and it was Hads that goes, "Where's Steve?" I'm like, "Oh, Dad's just up in the room." He goes, "Go get him." I said, No, Dad doesn't drink. Don't worry about it. Go get him. Anyway, so I ran out the room and said, "Dad, Hads wants you." And Mum, I said, "Sorry, Mum." But so Mum sat there and read a book or whatnot, and Dad come down, and I've never seen Dad sink 9 Coronas in space. No way.
I've never seen it. It was unbelievable. We were sitting next to Ponting, Hussey and Haddon, and Dad was just thinking back these Coronas.
That's so good. That's so good. As a young fella, you've got to be sitting there chuffed as, just having beers with your old man with legends of the game like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. And Dad's pretty quiet as well, so it was good to see him talk up a little bit.
Mate, how good. How good. All right, so a bit of a low point. in 2011, the team got bowled out South Africa for 47, but
Top score.
top score, mate.
Thanks for coming.
Walk us through that test with that game against South Africa.
Jeez. That was a prime example of the wicket doing too much on day one, and like the bowlers doing the ball too much and the batters not being good enough to nick it. Then obviously we actually got 3. That game is the only game I've ever had 4 innings in one day.
Wow.
So to make that clear for you, so we were 8 down overnight.
Yep.
Then I was batting 11. So we were 9 down. Morning, went out the bat, batting with Michael Clark. Him and I got out, one of us, and then we went out to bat our bowl, and we actually bowled them out for 90.
Far out.
But then we went on to go get up 47. Then come back. The good story about that is Gary Kirsten, their coach, his wife potentially having a baby or had a medical appointment that he had to leave the ground. So he left the ground when they were 2 for 13 or something like that in the first innings. Come back and they were 2 for 90 at the end of the day, or 2 for, and he's like, oh, what's happened? There's been a rain delay. and everyone's like, nah. We've been bowled out for 90. They've been bowled out for 47. Now we're chasing 330 for...
Oh, no way.
But yeah, another good story about that. My uncle was actually on the piss here in Tamworth, and one of his mates saw what was happening and was stupidly put money on me, the top score.
Oh, no way.
And walked out with a couple of K from memory.
Stop it.
But brave man doing that.
Oh, wow. Oh, mate, how good. So a month later, though, you play your first test in Australia. And I guess, I think obviously, I'm assuming debut is incredible. It's so important. But, to play for your country, in your country, it's almost like another debut to a degree. What was that like for you?
Yeah, pretty amazing. And obviously there was a few debutants that game as well. Davey Warner, Mitch Stark and James Pattinson all debuted that game as well. So I know, looking back at that, and I was able to have a lot of family there that come up from New South Wales, and looking back at that, it was pretty amazing, and to get the win there and to be able to sing the song and all that stuff that's a dream. So it's a test match I haven't thought about in a long time, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, mate, speaking of singing songs, the team song. So 2013, Hussey retires from Test cricket. He hands a very important role to you. What is that role in regards to the team song? So Mike Hussey was the leader of the team song, and the beauty of that is that you get to lead the team song when and wherever you want. So there's obviously that famous incident between Michael Clark and Simon Kadich. I wasn't there, so I can't go into it, but so you can try and potentially tread on a few people's toes by either staying in the room too long, having too many beers or whatnot. But Mike Hussey handed me the team song. Then we went to India and we lost 4-0. Then we went to England after India and we lost that 3-0. So we had 9 test matches there at the start of my tender as a leader of the team song, and I was like, shit, I'm going to be the first bloke to be handed it and never get to sing it or lead it. But it wasn't until that Ashes of 2013-14 where we won 5-0. The first at Brisbane Test was the first time I got to lead the team song, and I've done it since that. I think it's around 123 test matches or so now. So since that time. But yeah, that's probably up there with one of the proudest moments of my career when Huss handed me that song, and you get it for the right reason. He wrote me a letter, and I've got it framed at home, and just says why he did that, and the importance of it. And I get real nervous about it. You would have seen interviews where people say, oh, you get really nervous, he's a nervous Nelly or that. But I'm more nervous when I got the team song, because no way. You
look at it and you go, it's not just the players, it's not just the guys who perform well or debuting, it's also about the staff. So each and every one, the way I look at test match wins is it's like winning a premiership every week in NRL.
Yep.
So you need to celebrate it. But the reality is some days 3 days later you got to turn around and do it again. So trying to get a little bit more wiser now, slightly older, but back then it was good fun.
Mate, leading the team song, what's been, I'm probably going to ask you almost like a parent's favourite child, but has there been a song that you've sung where you've just gone, am I in heaven right now?
There's been a few powerful ones. Up there with one of the most powerful ones, it's on a downer, but after Phil Hughes passed away, we won that test match, and there's an incredible photo of us singing the team song, and that test, I had 408, his test number, painted on the ground. And it just so happened to be, I went out there, I didn't know photographers were there, and there's a photographer that's taken a photo, and the players and staff are in the perfect shape of the zero.
Oh, no way.
And it's one of the most eerie but incredible photos.
Yeah, wow.
So that's one. 2019 Manchester, when we retained the Ashes.
Yeah.
That was a pretty powerful one.
Yeah, wow.
So they're probably the first two that really stand out to me.
Oh, yeah, that's so cool. But 2013 though, initially for the Ashes, you were picked as the only spinner. Then Ash and Agar come in to replace you for a couple of tests. What was that period like for you in that 2013 period?
Nah, shit house.
Yeah.
So originally, we went to India. So we had 4 test match series against India in India before the Ashes away. So we had a big 5-6 months. Went to India. I got smacked in Chennai. I think I took about 4 for 180, potentially 200. So I got smacked. MS Dhoni went nuts, and then I got dropped in for Hyderabad. Xavier Doherty and Glenn Maxwell come in, and we didn't have the best tour all around. We lost 4-0 over there, and I come back in for Mohali. Then Delhi was the last test match before the Ashes, and I performed okay. I took 7 for 94. I think I had 9 wickets for the game, and I was pretty happy with the way I bowled. Then we went to England, and I was on A tour with Hads and a few others, and try and prepare for the test series, and it was a bit of a shit show, and Mickey Arthur was our current Australian coach, and Darren Lehman was a coach, and there was one day at Gloucestershire, we were just playing, and we just, when you just know something's going on, there's people being real secretive, they're walking out, and so something was building.
Yep.
Anyway, Mickey got sacked, and Darren come in, and then next minute I know was lead up into the first test, and Rod Marsh came up and said, we're not selecting you for the first test match. And I was gutted. Mum and Dad flew over to watch me play in England. So I thought I was not guaranteed, but like 7 for 94 last test match. You're going okay.
Yeah.
And it wasn't for Hads. Hads called me after he saw the team, and had to go come to my room. So as a senior player, when they say that, you get, yep, no worries. Yeah. Went and sat on his bed for about an hour with him. He goes, how are you feeling? I said, mate, I'm gutted. Like, I'm sitting in a hotel room thinking, fuck, is my career done? Like, what am I going to do? Yeah. Do I go back to greenkeeping? Like, I'm thinking the worst thoughts here. And he goes, well, you got to go up to Michael Clark, go up to Darren Lehman, and go up to Rod Marsh, and try and find a way to find them accountable. And I'm like, what do you mean? I said, well, go up and ask why you got dropped. So it wasn't until the next session I went up to Darren Lehman and Rod Marsh and said, lads, can I have a chat? Pretty disappointed, blah, blah, blah. What's the reason why I got dropped? And they said, we're worried about you bowling to right-handers. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, we want the ball turning away. I said, okay, no dramas, but we want to see you get better at bowling right-handers. So I asked Pup, same thing, and he said the same answer. So for the next training sessions, I just followed Michael Clark. And so a typical training session, there'll probably be about 3 training wickets, and like you have your fast bowlers, spinners, and some net bowlers, and the batters would rotate. So you bowl But Michael Clark went from one net to the second to the third, and I just kept going.
Yep.
And like all the batters, left-handed batters, were blowing up because they wanted to face Swan.
Yep.
And they're like, nah, what's going on? I said, well, I've been told I can't bowl to right-handers. I'm trying to get better.
Yeah.
But deep down, I was trying to prove a point.
Yeah, absolutely. The competitor comes out.
But this is, you made the wrong decision. Yeah. But like I couldn't say that.
You can only show it. If you can say it as much as you want, you got to show them, really.
Yeah. So then, didn't play the first test, didn't play the second test, but come in for the third test. So, yeah.
Do you think and you don't want to put words in your mouth at all, do you think the frustration more came from the lack of communication leading up to it at all, or it was purely no, I just don't agree with that sentiment of the right hand?
Probably part was just purely disappointment, and especially when you look at your last game, like you always, it's pretty cliche. You're only good as your last game, which is pretty horseshit because your last game was 3 months ago and things change. But I was really disappointed. Did I agree with it? No. But I think that also shaped me into a better player and your understanding. Okay, it hasn't gone your way, but you need to make sure you're doing everything for your team as well. So, but hopefully that's the last time I got dropped.
Mate, it's a really good lesson, and you can, absolutely nobody in regards to professional sport compared to you. But for any young fellas listening, like even at the top, the tippity top where you're at, it really is just someone's opinion, selection or not selection at the end of the day. And so, like, even at the top of the ranks, even with everything you went on to achieve and had already achieved, it is just someone's opinion at the end of the day, and you've got to do everything you can sometimes to convince them. But at the same time, if they've got a different opinion, like, the only way you're going to change it is not by, kicking rocks or whatever. It's about just going out there and playing good footy, good cricket, or whatever it is. Yeah,
and that was probably one of the best leadership lessons I've learnt from Brad. Was he was like, right, okay, suck it up. Like, it's disappointing, but as you said, like our careers as professional sports people, if you like it or not, it's held by someone else's hands. Yeah. And even today, if George Bailey had enough, he could open his hand. Done. Thank you for your time, but you're out.
Yeah.
So you look at that and you go, the way Brad was able to be really clear with me and go, okay, well, you need to find a way to make them accountable. And that's not being a smart ass, or that's not being a prick or anything like that. It's just being, okay, well, this is the reason. Let's give them a reason not to pick you. Like let's stand out and let's get better.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think, funnily enough, like in that highly competitive environment with a bunch of incredibly good professional athletes, they would almost want you to hold them accountable in a sense, if you know what I'm saying. Like, it's not like they'd be offended that you're trying to get better. They'd be saying, rather than him kick rocks and sook about it, I want him out there chasing Clark around and bowling at him to show that, mate, it means something to him. He wants to get better, and he's going to not even get better, he's just going to prove his point. Because that's what makes good athletes good, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think everyone, as a professional athlete, I think everyone wants to see guys trying to get better in each and every day. And the way I look at cricket is that cricket's a type of game where I don't think anyone will conquer the game. Like I've played against some of the greats and probably the greatest to ever play the game, but I still feel like no one's ever conquered it, whether with bat in hand, ball in hand, and fielding. Like, there's so many different areas where you can get better at.
Yep.
So if I was a coach or selector, you'd want your players to go out there and go, you know what, I'm going out there to try and get better.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm going to try and go out there and try and make you selectors look like a dick, and say you get made the wrong choice, but that's the player's journey to try and get better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it makes everyone better, in my opinion, anyway. Mate, so you get back into that. And so getting back into the side, you said in the third test you got back in, was it just a really good lesson just to be like, I guess, moving forward now, you've almost got to, when you face adversity again, I know exactly what to do when I'm going to face adversity again in regards to selection.
Yeah. Well, like, you looked at it and you go, well, I've missed out on 2 test matches, and 2 test matches that I put on my calendar that was incredibly important to me. So I looked at that, and when I got back, I was like, right, this is your time to really, I don't know, take this opportunity and run with it, and let's start being a difference in that side. So you look at that. That's 2 years into my test career. So that's probably around the 20 test mark, and where I said earlier, where I probably didn't really understand or have that belief in what I was doing until I was off 30 or 40 test matches in.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's the biggest thing probably. Yeah.
And you spoke about it earlier, but obviously Phil Hughes passing. I guess like for the group, I guess as best as you can put into words what that period was like for you.
Oh, that was an incredibly difficult time. Like I grew up playing a cricket against Phil at a young age in rep cricket, and then to play international cricket with him, play state cricket with him. So that was incredibly difficult, but also in a weird sense, like it made everyone realise that it's just a game, and that's so much more to life. And so losing Phil was incredibly difficult in so many different ways, but also brought the Australian Test team incredibly tight and really close, especially that period in that Test series against India, especially.
Yeah. So as far as on-field performances, one of your best, 5 in the first innings, 7 in the second, and won it for Australia in a close game. To have the mental toughness to do that, where do you reckon you pulled that from? That meant to just switch back into gear and do what you did.
I think a lot comes down to it, having the support and of your captain. So Hads was actually the standing captain in that last innings in Adelaide, and I was bowling. I bowled the majority of the day. Pup did his hamstring early that day, and Hads took over, and Hads come up and he goes, what do you reckon? I said, well, you're the captain. What do you reckon? He goes, well, we're going to take the new ball. I said, all right, who's bowling with it? And he goes, well, you're bowling the rest of the day. You just stay down there, you bowl. Let me look after this end and we'll win the game.
Wow.
So as soon as he said that, I was just like, right, okay, well, he's got the belief and confidence in me that I'm going to be good enough for long periods of time to create these chances. And as a collective, if we're good enough, we'll take these chances, we'll win the game.
Yep.
So having a captain like that vocalise and talk about, okay, well, you're it down that end, and I'll just work the team in around you. Really, I know, allowed me in a way to poke your chest out and roll your sleeves up and get in the fight and go, okay, right. And as a bowler, it probably took me a long time to realise we get the opportunity we control the tempo of the game. And nothing starts until we start our run-up or our process into bowling. So that was probably the biggest thing about that one.
And do you think you're at a stage there too where you almost embrace the responsibility of that moment to a degree?
Well, that's coming off the back of that conversation with Dad.
Okay.
About you got 3 or 4 other bowlers in your team, and if you bowl well in partnerships, and then hopefully you'll build pressure. And that's the best thing about cricket. Everyone thinks you always bat in partnerships, but it's probably more important that you bowl in partnerships, because if you're not bowling in partnerships, it's quite hard to build pressure.
Yeah.
So that come off the back of Dad's conversation, and then you put Hads's comment on top of that. And that really gave you that confidence to go out. You know what? We're going out this way, and we're going to do the process, and we're going to stick to it, and away we go.
And when you won the match, the series, what's that feeling like?
Unbelievable. Incredible, actually. Like, we walked off the field and sat down. I went to grab a Gatorade, and had just come over with a Corona and said, you're not having that, you're having this. So that's probably one of the best test match wins I've ever had. That one in Edgbaston in 2023 was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, okay. So a couple of years later, Nice Gary is invented. It enters the zeitgeist and goes absolutely insane. Matthew Wade's catchphrase goes viral. When that all started to kick off, what were you thinking? What was going on? What was it like?
Yeah, it's pretty strange, how it all started. Like I was just bowling and Matty didn't even think anything much of it, and he just started yelling out, "Nice Gary," and then we went to Brisbane the following week, and it was massive. Like everywhere, like I went on the field, like there was just people screaming. I'm just like, what's happening here? But oh no, it stuck. But then we went to Melbourne and they tried to do a Guinness World Record thing of getting everyone to say it in the third ball, my first over of that Test match, and I ended up taking a wicket on that ball. And but
so you ruined the
ruined it. But like I remember I had Josh Hazelwood and Mitchell Stark at mid on, mid off, and they were like, right, don't stuff up, like because I was like, fuck, I don't want to hit for a boundary here, and everyone out nice Gary. But then they ended up taking a wicket, so that was pretty cool experience. Like just seeing that. But yeah, that kick started, and even today, like I walk down the street or go to the Coles, and someone will say, "Oh, nice Gary," and I'm like,
mate, it's that big that back then even I knew about it. And as I said, I only recently got into cricket a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and even I knew nice Gary. Like that's how big it was. Huge. Was that the first time you'd obviously definitely had already experienced media and, headlines and, you're playing for bloody Australia, of course, but like the virality of that, like no one gets to experience something like that. Was it just a strange kind of, I would say out of body experience, but just a bit weird, the whole intensity of it all?
Yeah, it was pretty strange, especially like said, like you walk around and like I'd never really had posters or signs put up in the crowd or anything like that. That's usually left to like the genuine superstars of the team that you might get one or two in the crowd or whatnot. But like there's guys getting like their head painted or the shirts off and nice Gary written all over them. Just like, then some blokes getting tattoos and stuff. And I'm like, what's happening here? Like, I don't get it.
Just a young fella from Young.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, what a moment. So 2017, big year for you. You get 8 for 50 in India, the best figures ever recorded in India by a visiting bowler. Also took your 250th wicket, test wicket, sorry. And then later in the year, you took match figures of 13 for 154 against Bangladesh, which was the best ever figures recorded by an Australian bowler in Asia. That season for you, do you reckon that was... it probably would have been earlier when you really felt comfortable in like that 30, 40 test mark. But was this when you really felt like you springboarded into kind of that next level of play, do you think?
Yeah, I reckon it was around then. I'm just trying to figure out exactly when it was. But I know, I suppose it helps having that personal success and being able to take 8 for 50 or 13 wickets in the game or anything like that. But I feel like the whole squad and the whole team, we were really started to get on a real journey on how to play cricket and how to be successful and really have that aura around us. That's what it kind of felt like, and I think I just kind of jumped on the back of that and really, I know in a way where we probably, stuck my chest out a little bit more and got a lot more confident in bowling your best ball and really stuck with that process.
Yeah. Do you reckon, and this is a very casual perspective, but was it around like the mid, 14 to whatever, where Australian cricket wasn't going as well, and then what would have been like 2017 onwards, you've just continued on an upward trajectory to a degree? Is that a fair statement or not?
I feel like we've probably been on a uphill trajectory quite a fair bit. Like we've had our tough series. There's no point hiding behind that, and we had some tough lessons along the way. But I probably feel like from 2019, really, like it's gone from uphill to, I feel like it's gone quite uphill. Pretty steep, pretty quickly, which has been an unbelievable journey to be on. It's been some, as I said, been some hard times, been some learning times, but it's been enjoyable times though as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure it would feel quite rewarding to be a part of that. I wouldn't say rebirth at all because you had success during that period, but the identity this current roster has, like you are building your own identity that you obviously there are the greatest periods or whatever golden eras, but this this last few years, like you guys have got essentially everything. Yeah, it's amazing, absolutely amazing, mate. Talk to me about the 2019 Ashes. Write a book about it.
Yeah, where do you start there? The ups and lows of that was a genuine roller coaster of emotions of that whole Test series. I've been able to take, I think I took 7 for in the second dig in Edgbaston to win that Test match where you talk to the English or you listen to the English and they're like Edgbaston is a fortress and they can't be beaten there and all this stuff. And then for us to go there and Smithy and Davey and Cam come back after sandpaper, that incident, for them to come back and added to the emotion of it all and the hype of it all. But it was that Test match was amazing. Then it was obviously, I think it was rain affected in Lords where we usually like to play, but then arguably one of the best Test matches I've ever been a part of.
It's crazy.
With Headingley, with dropping the run out, and then the probably biggest learning in my career was able to, in that period, go, okay, well, literally got 3 seconds to pick yourself up here and win this game of cricket for Australia. I know we didn't win the game, but the umpire at the time probably made an error at that time. That's probably been pretty polite, but and that's where you talk about learnings and try and find proud moments along your career. That's probably one of the biggest things. Like I made an error and missed a run out. I'll put my hand up and I'll own that. That's no stress. But I was more proud of myself the way in 3 seconds later I picked myself up, created an opportunity, and if it wasn't for us doing a review over before, like Payne did sent one up review, and we're pretty stupid in reflection, but got Stokesy out of LBW, but the umpire panicked, and so be it. But that's all part of the game. But then you go on to that, you end that game and you think the world's ending. Tears, there's a whole lot of emotion going on, a lot of abuse on social media, a lot of keyboard warriors out there. But then you go to Manchester and win that game and retain the Ashes. Was pretty incredible. Then we missed our opportunity at the Oval. We bowled first, and I think we dropped close to 7 catches that innings. So we missed our opportunity there.
I guess that 2019 series though, like, where would you rate that across all the series? I mean, you've got some incredible series wins, so it'd be tough, but
probably be in the top 7, top 5. Wow.
And the match where you took, did you say 7 for? You took 7 for? As that's happening, how do you like mentally, because let's say you're at 3 for or 4 for, there would be a tendency, I guess, maybe for rookies or whatever sometimes to get a bit carried away and go away from your processes. What do you use when you're on that roll and you've got the hot hand and everything's going well for you? What mental practices do you use to make sure that you're not focused on the fact that you've already got 4 for it? You want to, you know what I mean? You stick to your processes.
Yeah, so I've got a blueprint that I'll say if I'm under the pump or even if I'm going well, and that blueprint will just take me back to the process of understanding and feeling what your best ball looks like and what that feels like when I'm bowling well. And then when I'm not bowling well, I'll say that and to understand that feeling to get back to bowling well.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, because I was pretty nervous going into that because same thing. Dryish wicket, everyone thought you need to win the game. If you don't win it, no, we're not going to win it type thing. So I was pretty nervous going into that.
Yeah.
But it's just about, and I've probably been for the last 6 years, this is a big one for me, is about bowling your best ball, but understanding your process and the way it feels to get there, and then being really clear on top of your mark. If you're bowling to Joe Root, Virat Kohli, whoever it may be, okay, this is how I'm going to get them out. it's not going to happen every ball.
Yep.
But it's just been really clear and really just you controlling the tempo of the game.
Who's been the most wily batsman that you've come up against? Where, because like the beauty of at your level is it's like a chess match happening that a lot of the casual audience like me see, we don't actually realise what's happening. Like there's all these like little games being played. Who's been the wiliest batter that you've just been so amazed at their ability to kind of identify what you're trying to set up?
There's been a few. Cricket's a game of problem solving. And if you can solve the problem quicker than the batter, then you're going to have a little bit more success. But AB de Villiers from South Africa, he's probably one that probably created the most problems. And that's just ability purely off his ability. But yeah, on the spot, I'd probably say him, or even going back to Yunus Khan from Pakistan. He was incredibly talented.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so take us to that next series though. The calf's gone, mate. You're limping everywhere, and you're just hanging in there by a thread. Walk us through all that.
Yeah, well, it comes back to the first Test match. We had an incredible Test match win. And Pat and I put on 50 runs to win that game at Edgbaston in the first game against Bazball. So all that hype and all that stuff was up and about. But then going into Lords at the second Test match, that was my 100th consecutive Test match.
Wow.
And I was the first bowler to ever do it.
No
in the whole game, and the whole lead up to that game, the whole media obviously had to do a lot of media and all that stuff, and they're like, "Oh, you're so resilient. You had been all this stuff, and then the second day you blow your calf to bits, and there was don't know why or don't know how or anything like that. It just went, and I was in not a very good way. But
didn't look great. You didn't look great.
No.
But you looked great. You did well, but the calf looked gone.
Yeah, but so then on crutches for the remainder of the day game, and just remember going up to Paddy. I'm like, Pat, what are you thinking about batting? And Pat and the physio both looked at me and said, mate, you're not batting. I said, no, I'm batting.
Wow.
And he goes, no. And there's like, mate, go away. You're not batting. So I went straight up to Andrew McDonald and said, mate, I'm batting. And he goes, yeah, good. I want you to bat.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, right, well, you need to talk to the physio.
Yep.
So then they just loaded me up with drugs, strapped me from my knee down to my toes, and then away we went.
I guess what was what's the thought process behind it? Like, is it just a competitive nature of wanting to do your job? Like, what do you reckon it was?
Well, I had a tremendous feeling of guilt that I've left my team down. So I was like, right, well, what can I do to play a role? And I understand, I've played enough cricket now, I understand the importance of a 10 to a 15 run. Sitting here, it doesn't sound a lot, but I understand the importance of a 10 to 15 run partnership. That can change a game.
Yep.
So, and you look at that game, like we ended up winning that game by 43 runs. Yes, that still seems a lot, but you take 15 off that.
Yeah, all of a sudden, very
you're in
different.
the 20s or whatever it may be, and that's a lot closer. So then you go, well, here we go.
Yeah, and also like you take 15 off that, and like you go, oh, you still win by 20, but the game changes though because there's more pressure on the batters because they've got less wickets in hand or runs in. You know what I mean? Like it actually changes the whole scenario. The bowlers get their leg up because they can sniff a bit of blood. So, mate, it's an incredible moment. This was also the Besto run out, correct?
Yeah.
Series? Mate, you'd been around for a while by this stage, so you thought you'd seen it all.
I've seen that before. It's just fucking carrying on.
When you saw the fallout from that, what did you think?
I was amazed by it.
Yeah,
absolutely amazed by the carry on in the long room. So you walk in, traditionally you walk through the long room as a player, and you could get a duck 5 foot, 3 foot, 100. Doesn't matter what happened.
Get clapped.
You get clapped off.
Yeah.
An appreciation for your efforts and everything like that. But I've never seen anything like that.
No way.
And like the reality is, like, you can sit there and laugh at the moment because you're more chance of getting everybody sued and then punched in that room. That's not at the pub.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely correct.
So to see them carrying on like the way they did when the guys come off. And I was in a unique position because I was on crutches. I was sitting on the boundary and I didn't go around that. So I went around the back. So I was trying to get up the stairs.
Yep.
And so everyone's in there and they were just yelling abuse. And I'm standing there on my crutches. And I'm like, this is actually quite funny. Just seeing everyone carry on like that. But it was out every day of the week. It's still out today. It's not like, but it's just remarkable.
As a casual viewer, what I couldn't understand, I'm like, it's in the rules. Like, it's literally you're out of your crease. You got run out. Like, I don't understand the blow up from it. Like, are we supposed to not get you out because we're good blokes? Like, what? Like, doesn't make any sense to me.
You and me both.
And then that was the same. That was a moral victory one, wasn't it too?
That was moral victory. Because even going back to the Edgbaston Test match, like, we won that Test match, and like that's going down as one of the best matches I've ever won. Like, I won't lie, I've sat at home and I've watched that batting innings because of Pat and myself, that partnership. But they had bottles, cartons of beer and champagne getting delivered into their change room.
What?
After we won the test.
No way.
So we had a few drinks after that test match like we always do.
Yeah.
But they were having like trolleys, cartons and that pushed in there and like music up. I was amazed.
What the hell? That is bizarre.
Baseball. They're all about entertaining.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. You're so gracious of you to entertain us. As you know, as the Aussie team, when you see these quotes about baseball, moral victories, you know, not in the spirit of cricket, are you just sitting there going, what crazy world are we living in right now? What's it like?
It's a bit of that. Like, there's a fair amount of carry on that's happening there at the moment, but it is what it is at the end of the day. And like the good thing about the way we approach our cricket is that we understand what we need to do, and the reality is that you're going to get people's different opinions and different way they approach it and etc. So, but there has been some pretty remarkable comments about being 2-0 down and feels like it's a moral victory and they've won the Ashes or whatever they are. Saying even going back to the Champions Trophy when Australia chased them down, that game didn't deserve a loss. I'm like, that just doesn't make sense, but it's very English. So.
Oh, yeah, the Poms, eh? The Poms. Mate, so it is, they are coming out here this year?
Yeah, this year, massive year.
So, like, you know, you look at it, and what I'm loving about this rivalry with England, like it feels like, I don't know if it's as like big as its heyday, but there feels like there is tension there. There is genuine, like, real competitiveness. If there's one knock on modern athletes, it's like sometimes it's too friendly, but it feels like with the Ashes, especially, you know, even with India as well, but with England, it feels like, you know, you can almost feel the tension building towards when they do come out. Is that something you are looking forward to more than anything, the when they come out at the end of the year?
Yeah, 100%. Like, as a kid growing up, you want to play cricket for Australia against England. Like, as a kid in the backyard, you toss a bat up. Whoever lost was England. Like, that's just the reality of it. And like, you just used to go and watch the Test team at school. Like, if it's the Ashes on, like, you got time off class. So you look at the history between Australia and England, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. And I think that's just with the world, with social media, with the media outlets. Like, we've got 2 media outlets covering the cricket, Channel 7 and Fox Sports, but then you've got all the radios on top of that. So there's a lot of people with different opinions. So there's a lot of voices out there. But no, it's a game that you want to play. It's a series that you want to be a part of. I've had since playing, you feel like if you win an Ashes series, in my eyes, you get 24 hours to do whatever you want.
Yeah, mate, absolutely.
So to carry on, but no, it's pretty cool. Like, I've I've been part of some amazing Ashes Test wins, and I think played 20 Test match out here, and I think we're 17-0 or something against England. So
so good, mate. Before I let you go, Paddy Cummins' captaincy been really interesting to watch just from an athlete's perspective, because outside looking in, and I obviously don't know him personally, but he definitely seems like a different captain to the previous captains that have come before him, and that sounds like an obvious thing to say. But what I mean by that is like it seems like he looks like a modern athlete captain. You know, like you look at the way he handles things, the way he handles the media. I love watching him play and everything. Like, what's it been like working with him? Because you've obviously had some of the best captains ever working under them.
Paddy's been brilliant. He's been totally different to the likes of Michael Clark, Steve Smith. But the way Paddy's very calm, cool, collected, and he's a phenomenal cricketer. But he's also the first captain that I've played under a bowler, and so the way I look at it at the moment is that we've got Steve Smith and Travis Head who are vice captains, and you've got Pat as captain. So those three guys are our leaders, and we've got the best of the batting mindset, but also the bowling mindset. So he understands the bowlers to what makes us work and what makes us tick, but he also understands the batters, and everyone's different as well. So he's very, very calm in the way he controls the change room and controls the process out in the middle. So he's exceptional. He's Mr. Perfect. You just got to ask him, and he will tell you that. But no, he's been brilliant. Nothing but praise for Paddy and the way he's gone about it. That's for sure,
mate. And speaking of bowling captains, batting captains, I'm hearing whispers that your brother is your batting coach. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, probably would have been beneficial if I listened to him when I was 12, 13, 14. But no, Brendan's mad. He probably loves cricket more than what I do, and he's been my batting coach for the last probably 6 years or so.
How good, mate. Before I let you go, favourite rapper of all time, and if it's not rap, favourite musician of all time?
Musician. That's a good question. Well, I'm a father of 3 girls, so if you go onto my Spotify, it's full of Taylor Swift.
Swift? Did you go to the Taylor Swift concert when she was out?
No, I was flying out to New Zealand.
I was sure you were devastated.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a few floating around. You put me on the spot. We'll go John Williamson. There you go.
My favourite movie of all time?
I'll go to Crocodile Dundee or Dark Knight.
Mate, how good. The Dark Knight, one of the best. Mate, thanks so much for coming on, brother. Really do appreciate it, and absolutely love watching you boys play at the moment. So thanks, mate.
Too easy. Thanks for having me.
Boom.